The term branding gets thrown around a lot in advertising, and I would wager a bet that you probably don't know what branding actually is. But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over what branding is and what branding is not. Now, why would I be the person to tell you this? Well, my name is Amy. I am a university professor here in the United States. I am an advertising professional. I have been in the digital advertising business for over 20 plus years, and it is my job to help you better understand the world of advertising so you can use its tricks and tips to help better position your business in this fast-paced world. So let's get into what branding is and what branding isn't. So let's get the most obvious thing out of the way first. This is not a brand. This is not a brand. Yeah, this isn't a brand either. So what are these things that most people actually associate with being a brand? Well, they're actually logos. And if you learned anything about advertising, you learned that logos are not actually a brand. They're just a representation of the brand. A logo is a picture. It's what, when you see that picture, you go, oh, that's Nike, or oh, that's Target, oh, that's Disney. All these things are representations of a brand, but they are not what a brand truly is. So what is a brand? So most people in advertising will break a brand into 5 different things that make up a brand as a whole. You see, these 5 different things are building blocks that helps create what it is you think of as a brand when you think of an entity like Nike, Disney, or Target. So the first thing that we have to bring up is your promise. Your promise is, what do you say you're gonna do, and do you do it? Because you see, if you say you're gonna do something, let's say you say that this phone that I'm using right now as a camera is gonna take the best pictures in the world and it's gonna have really long battery life. You better make sure that your product does that. If it doesn't, it creates a poor customer experience, which then leads to a bad brand reputation. Now, the second thing that a brand has to do is connect. You see, advertising is all about emotional connection. And my students hear me say this all the time, and I'm sure they're tired of hearing me say this, but advertising is not about selling. It's about connecting with people and trying to figure out how to tell your story to that person so that they can connect with it and then want to go on and purchase your product. Now, that brings us to the third block, which is story. Who are you as a brand? Are you a Tom's who, if you buy one shoe from them, they give a shoe to someone else? Are you a Nike as someone who is motivating someone to become something that they've never tried to be before or never thought that they could be? What is your brand story? Think about the brands that you love, the brands that you interact with, and what are they doing for you? What story did they tell you that made you connect? You see, it goes back to that connection, emotional connection. What are you trying to do? The next thing is called memorable experiences. Now, the easiest way to illustrate this is with a coffee shop. If you go into a coffee shop and the barista knows your name and knows your order, that's a really good experience, right? That's something memorable, that's good that you are going to remember. Now, let's say you went into that same coffee shop and you were the only one in there. The barista never looks up from their phone. The barista never tells you hello. It takes them 10 minutes to take your order and then they get it wrong. Now, that's a type of memorable experience, but it's not a good one. And that's what we're trying to avoid in branding. We're trying to position ourselves positively in the mind of the consumer when we're branding. And creating a positive, memorable experience is another piece to that puzzle. Now, the second to last thing is what we like to call reputation. Now, reputation can be one of the most important building blocks that is out there because, as you can see, they all build on each other. And if a customer has a bad, memorable experience, it's probably going to hurt your reputation. What's the first thing they're going to do? Probably go and review you either on Google or Facebook or somewhere like that and tell people how terrible of an experience that they had. And that's what you don't want to happen. You see, all of these blocks build on each other. And if one of them goes askew, then your whole brand goes askew. This is why it's more than just that logo. So now you know what the 5 building blocks of a brand are, but what exactly you're trying to do with those building blocks. You know you're supposed to have all of them, and if one falls off and it's not good, then you don't have as strong of a brand. But what else goes into this? Well, you see, as an advertiser, like I said before, you are constantly trying to position your brand positively in the mind of the consumer. And the way we do this is we don't actually sell products. We sell experiences. We sell what the brand or what the product can do for you to enhance your life. So a good example is GoPro. GoPro doesn't sell action cameras. GoPro sells adventure. Nike doesn't sell tennis shoes, they sell athletic excellence. Netflix doesn't sell video streaming, they sell escapism. You see, there's this little bit of a spin on what it is that we do because we don't want it to be boring for you. And advertising, you're trying to sell or amplify what it is that will enhance the life of your target audience. And so by doing that, we try, again, to place our brand, our product in the mind of the consumer positively. And the way we do this a lot of the times is through adjectives. One of the first branding exercises I run with my classes is giving them big brands and asking them to associate the brand with an adjective. Now, why do I do this? Because you see, that adjective that your brand is associated with really drives the trajectory of how you're going to advertise. So that adjective you come up with, it helps define your differentiation factor. It helps you connect with your target audience, and it helps drive that creative direction in a way of, okay, if I am selling Nike, I am not going to position my ads or shoot my ads or make my ads the same way than if I was doing a dress shoot, right? If I'm advertising Nike, I want to make sure that I stay on brand for Nike. And what is Nike's brand? Athleticism, motivation. It's all these things that really get people behind you. And so you see, those adjectives drive the direction of that brand and the narrative that you surround it with. That's why it's so important, again, that these building blocks all add up and that you pick the right adjectives to go with your brand, because this is how the consumer remembers what your brand is. So remember, your brand is more than a logo. This is just a visual representation of your brand, but your brand is the promise you make to your consumer, the connection you make with the consumer, the reputation you have, the memorable experiences that you create. It's all these different building blocks that you have that create what a brand is. And if one of these 5 things fall out of line, remember, it ruins the brand. So as an advertiser or as someone who is trying to build a brand, you have to think of these 5 things and think about how the consumer will perceive you and make sure that that perception is positive. Now, I hope you learned a little bit of something today about branding, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe so that we can continue to make videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.